Hey, have you ever wanted to play a really hard video game, but you're just not very good? That's what I'm here for. I really love this game, and I wanted to share it with a lot of people. So, enjoy. Let's do this together. I've played this a lot, but I'm gonna start a new game. I'll use my tag for character creation. There's a lot of different classes you can pick. You can go super hardcore if you want, but I really like the Pyromancer or the Wanderer build, so I'm gonna go ahead and go with Wanderer. For your gift, you can pick pretty much whatever you want. I really like the Old Witch's Ring, which comes into play later. But if you really want to break the game, I recommend the Master Key. It opens up a lot of areas to be able to get into and get items and stuff that you're not really supposed to have. Face type. Whoops. Store and Noble. For hair, it's an older game, so not a lot of good hairstyles. I really do like the bun though. Braided's pretty cool too. Not a lot of I think brown haired rep. Or I guess I'm thinking of brown eyes. Not a lot of brown eye rep. Let's do dark blue. Go ahead and accept. Oh, I gotta pick a physique, I forgot. I like to be average.
In the age of ancients, the world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. The first of the dead. The Witch of Asylum and her daughters of chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight, and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. The scales betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
That's one of my favorite game intros. Thought I'd just let it play.
Yes, indeed. The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world. This is your fate.
So, this game does a really good job of setting things up for its players. The opening cutscene is one of the few cutscenes in the game, and it sets things up really well, and then it just kind of lets you, figure things out for yourself, just by interacting with the world around you. So, our buddy, Oscar, just tossed down this corpse, and the first thing it asks you to do is pick it up, and it gives you the way out. And then you can go ahead and walk on out. You can check things out, read the messages. It'll tell you stuff to be able to do. It gives you enemies to attack. I don't like to attack these guys though, because they don't really hurt you. It gives you, it lets you know how to dash and do all that stuff. Gives you another passive enemy. One of the few passive enemies in this game. Almost everything else wants you dead. With, varying degrees of validity. And then it walks you right into a save point, which is the only interesting thing in this room besides the door. And then it teaches you that, hey, you can chill out at these. There's also a door over there, but even if I did go check it out, it doesn't open from this side. Most of the doors in this game work that way, where the path is pretty linear, designed to only let you go in a certain direction. But that's kind of only in the beginning. There's a point where it gets more opened up. And then we have this big empty room with nothing in it except the way to the exit, right? Psych. it's boss fight. But we only have this dinky little broken sword. Barely does any damage. Meanwhile, he can take out our entire health bar in maybe one hit or two. So what are we to do? We could die a few times. Most people do. Not everybody. I have seen players go through this and do the entire fight. See how much damage he does? I've seen people go through this entire fight with just the broken sword, but it's not for me. I'm not really that hardcore. So then you see this little opening, and it closes behind you. And you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I was safe now. Oh, and then another little save point. And you can rest, recover HP. And if you got hit at all during that fight, it shows you, like, oh, that's what that's for. You rest and recover HP. Even if you didn't read the tooltip. Which I only really like to read for, like, button configurations, you know? If you've never played, like, a game before. Just tried to equip the sword because I was a little ahead of myself. It gives you a shield and tells you how to use it. And gives you an enemy that you can only really encounter, or only really fight if you have a shield equipped. And then he leads you into the next area. Whoops. Yeah, we just try to hit too many buttons at once. There we go. Now that we're properly outfitted for the challenges ahead. He's stuck up against a wall. And we can take him out pretty easy. Most of this game becomes pretty simple. Not, I wouldn't say easy, just because there's a lot of, you know, things you gotta do, and a certain amount of dexterity and skill that you need to be able to progress or do anything. But most of it's just a decent knowledge of the game and just the will to push forward. But another thing I like is you push right past that fog wall, and right here you see, hey, that guy looks pretty familiar. That's the guy who dropped us our key earlier. And it's like, oh, well, how do I get to him? I don't know. There's just this wall there. You know, he's surrounded by walls on all sides. This door doesn't want to open. Huh, well, I guess he's just gonna have to suffer by himself while I progress on my path. The other thing is, you know, if you notice back here, hey, that bonfire looks pretty familiar with that door. And here's that little, you know, path right here. So if you want, you can rest up if you lost any health in the fight with that last guy. People like to complain about this game or being pretty brutal at the start, if you don't know what you're doing, but, oop, almost forgot about that. But yeah, like, most of it, just comes from knowing stuff about the game, and then just having a certain level of determination to push through when it gets hard. Because it does get hard. But yeah, this little ball conveniently opened this path for us.
Oh, you. You're no hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon, then lose my sanity. I wish to ask something of you. You and I, we're both undead. Hear me out, will you? Regrettably, I have failed in my mission, but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family, thou who art undead art chosen, and thine exodus from the undead asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know. Well, now you know. And I can die with hope in my heart. Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead favorite. Oh, and this. Now I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
So yeah, that's Oswald of Kareem, I believe. Yeah, unfortunately he had himself a scuffle, but he gives you the next thing to open the next door to get out of this place, which I think is pretty cool of him, considering almost everything else in this game wants to kill you. I say thing, everything and everyone. There's a few friendly NPCs, but for the most part, they do just want to fight you. But it's pretty obvious right away which ones want to fight you and which ones don't. Although every NPC in this game can be killed, except for, I think, one. This guy's meant to teach you how to parry. I never did figure out how to parry, but I am pretty good at backstabbing. And then we know this door's locked too. Or at least I do. Then we have this convenient white fog wall, which drops us right out where the boss is and teaches us about using gravity to our advantage. So now that we have proper equipment, oops, and he's missing a decent chunk of his health, the fight's just a little bit more fair. Not the easiest, but it's just a little more fair. Why do I keep trying to block? No. Put down button. There we go. Now he's big and slow moving, which is more than can be said of a lot of the stuff in this game. Oops. Ouch. And dodge rolling does give you some measure of invincibility. So it's important to dodge roll and block when you can. And watch out for his drop attacks. But yeah, you see how simple that fight can be when you have the proper equipment. And that just kind of teaches you the whole sort of theme of this game, which is, in my opinion, coming prepared. One thing I do like to hear is, you can hear the footsteps, and some people might think that's a bug or a glitch, but, you know, we'll come back to that later. Which is another big, feature of this game that, they use environmental storytelling really, really well. And it's really easy for you to miss if you're trying to speedrun this game, which I don't really know a lot about, but from personal experience I can tell it's not easy to do. I can't imagine trying to speedrun this game. But then they give you the only path you can walk. Again, just kind of leading you in the same direction, or in one direction.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the undead asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
They give you some of your only instructions in the game. which is to level up and kindle at bonfires. And now you got a few more options. Just to reverse hollowing and kindle, and you can level up too. And then you get another neutral NPC.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the Undead Asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the Undead Church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead? Ah, your face. You're practically hollow. But who knows? Going hollow could solve quite a bit. What? Restoring your humanity? Well, there are a few ways to go about it. Collect it bit by bit from corpses. Or you can butter up a cleric and get yourself summoned. And the quickest way, although I never do it, is to kill a healthy undead and pillage its humanity. Coveting thy neighbor is only human, after all. What are you looking at? Don't try anything clever. You might regret it.
All throughout the game, you'll see different specters of other players. Some who are running the games roughly the same time as you are. Vitality and endurance are always a good pick. I like to go with dexterity too. And the weapon I usually use is it requires some strength, so I'll probably spec into that later. But yeah, you'll see the reverse hollowing, but it'll tell you have no humanity. And you try to kindle like it told you, and it tells you you can't kindle while hollowed. So this guy actually gave us some pretty good advice of how to become unhollowed. I usually spend on some convenient free humanity, which is an item that will restore all your health and give you 1 humanity to unhollow yourself and kindle at bonfires, which kindling a bonfire actually gives you, gives you more Estus, more healing item, which is pretty great if you're, yeah, that's why I baited that. Whoops. Everybody makes mistakes. Kindling bonfires is good. Cool, and there's an item over here. Pretty cool. The Ring of Sacrifice is a cool item. Prevents you from losing all your stuff on death. Which, if you're human, it will prevent you from being hollowed. And then you prevents you from losing your souls. The humanity mechanic, or human and hollowing mechanic, I think is pretty neat. There are a lot of benefits to being hollow, there's a lot of benefits to being human. And for most players, from what I know, it's more advantageous to stay hollow for the majority of the game, unless you're really into PvP. and really confident in your abilities, which I will admit I am not. I pride myself on being just the most average Dark Souls player. So you go down this straight line and you're like, oh, I can't open this gate. Well, time to head back. Oh, put me in the archway. You head up the stairs, and you just keep running into adversity, which is another fun little life lesson this game teaches you is, if you're running into enemies, you're probably going the right way. Which, I think that's a thing that most games do. Is, I can't go up there. Just gives you, like, life tips, you know? Confront your enemies. Protect yourself. Be prepared. Watch out for surprises, you know? Just good life advice. Maybe I should, sip some Sunny D bottle here. That's not my joke. Pretty much everybody calls it that. That's what it looks like, huh? Oh. Knock these guys down. Oh, hey. Didn't get everybody. I'm making this look really easy, mostly because I've done this intro sequence a lot over the years to grind. Most of the time you have to grind. Oh, I forgot. What is that? Missed a spot. Most of the time you have to grind, you know, this intro area a lot to be able to level up enough to beat, some of the next stuff. I mean, some, you know, not everybody does, but you do have to grind at least a little bit to, there we go. This is what I forgot. To be able to beat the next boss and things like that, but, I've also just restarted this game a lot. It does have a new Game Plus feature, but all the enemies basically just stay in the same place. They're just a little bit harder to fight. Usually they just do more damage. But you also do more damage because you've been through the entire game already. And as far as I know, it will stack infinitely, New Game Plus, so you can just do plus plus, and then, you know, so on and so forth. Yeah, I'm making this look really easy because I know where all the enemies are, but, you know, if you're new to this game, you know, you're going to want to go a lot slower, pay attention to where the enemies are. You're going to see me slow down as I get through this, just because this game rewards you for taking your time, or at least it rewards you for playing smart, and you know, protecting yourself, shielding when you can to assess, you know, like threat level and things like that, to prevent yourself from getting killed. But basically when you die, you lose everything, but you have the one chance to get it back. Love that scripted sequence. It's a really old game, so some of the animation doesn't quite hold up, but yeah, like, what a shock to, like, a new player that they just fought their way through all those enemies, and then all of a sudden a dragon jumps on this little bridge here, and they're like, oh god, am I gonna have to fight that? The answer is yes. Well, you don't have to. There's very little you actually have to fight in this game, but every enemy you fight makes you a little bit stronger to be able to face the enemies you do have to fight. And I'm gonna swap this out right away. Love the wooden shield. I should take out this guy first. I could go on for hours about just the design of this game and how it works really well, considering you know, the time and period it came out, as well as, you know, why there's a, I mean, there's a whole series of this game, but the one that came before this was Demon's Souls, which I've never played, but they did remaster for the PS5, which is pretty cool. I don't know if I'll be getting a PS5. It's a bit out of my price range right now. Not to mention, when you get a brand new console, when it launches, you tend to run into all of the bugs that they didn't fix in development. So I usually like to wait it out, at the very least, to get the second generation of it. Like the Xbox One S, and what was it, the PlayStation Slim. Yeah, just to make sure they work out all the kinks first, you know? I think it's severely overhyped to get a console on launch day. Not to mention, even if I wanted a PlayStation 5, I wouldn't be able to find one anywhere. Whoops. Missed that jump. Yeah, at least not without spending like $1,000 or more. Thanks, thanks, scalpers. I dropped down from the side last time. Oh, may as well go talk to this guy. Another neutral NPC.
Well now, you seem to have your wits about you, hmm? Then you are a welcome customer. I trade for souls. Everything's for sale.
So he's one of the in-game merchants. It is possible to fight him and kill him, although you will lose the ability to purchase anything from him when he dies. Just kind of makes sense. Let's start with the residence key. Keys are always really important in this game. They open new areas. There's not a single superfluous item in this game, really, other than all the weapons. Like, weapon choice is really just up to personal preference. That's why I like the scimitars. Turns into one of the cooler weapons later. But, you know, that's kind of the appeal of a game like this, is you can kind of play it however you want. I play one of the easiest styles, in that I tend to lean on higher damaging weapons. Oh, that's the way out. But, you know, there are people that go through this whole game with just a bow and arrow, you know? There's people who go through this whole game with just a halberd, or just a, what am I thinking of? The, like, brass knuckle weapon. Like, there's so many ways to play this game. But in my experience, the easiest way, is to just get a big sword, or, you know, just a big weapon in general. And, not enough souls to level up yet. Resting at the bonfire does respawn all the enemies, and if you didn't, you know, you as a new player didn't know that beforehand, whoops. It shows you right here, with that first bonfire. If you, you know, somehow gotten through this without dying yet. Which people have on their first run, you know. Some people are good enough to just get through the whole thing. Not the whole game, but, like, on their first run, get a decent way in without dying the first time. I like to... Sorry if the camera gets a little janky. The lock-on feature moves a little quickly, in my opinion. doesn't open from this side. But locking on is actually really important to make sure your strikes actually are hitting where they're supposed to. Not on big bosses, because their hitboxes are so big, but... Cool, come on over here. But for the smaller enemies, the lock-on feature is actually really important. But flicking from enemy to enemy can get a little hard to follow. We have a chest with a black firebomb in it, or a couple of them. I don't really use firebombs. I forget to use items, honestly. Some people use them a lot. I'd rather spend my souls on weapon upgrades and level ups, personally. I just lose track of items. Not that their inventory system's all that bad, but I just lose track of what I have and I forget to use it because I have bad object permanence. There we go. But yeah, this game really rewards patience, incredible amounts of patience and timing, to make sure that your hits or your strikes hit when you want them to hit. Whoops. Another nice little feature, which can get annoying sometimes, but a nice little feature that I think is cool, is they coded in hitboxes for all of the buildings. So when you're fighting indoors and in like hallways and stuff, your weapon can get stuck or hit the walls instead of the enemy, which makes sense. Like, you're in a small space, you shouldn't be able to swing a giant claymore or greatsword with the same dexterity and like freedom of movement as you would like a dagger or like a short sword. And while it does get really annoying, because not a lot of the weapons I use are very small, so it gets really annoying to fight in close quarters, there are ways around it. And I just think it's a nice little detail, you know? Just adds to the immersion and realism, I think. Can you not heal while I'm trying to hit you? Thanks. And yeah, like you can see I missed my attack twice there because of the collision physics, but okay, yeah, it requires 11 strength to wield, so I'm definitely not going to use that. Just shield. I could go down here. There's an enemy down there, but I don't want to deal with him because he's kind of hard for my level right now. Hey, yeah, there we go. There's a couple of traps like that, not very many left now. But one of the nice things about this game is that even on replayability, there is still so much that can trip you up, and like even for, you know, a seasoned player, it's easy to get you know, just a little too cocky and you know, waste I don't have the master key, and there's no point in trying to open this door. This is one of the doors that will open with the master key, and will lead you to an area you were definitely not supposed to be able to open. But if you cheese the enemy that comes out from under there, you get a really cool item set. Or I believe it's I think it's just the ring. Oops. Come here. God, I hate these things. Stop running away. See, this is one of the instances where it's annoying. There we go. To have the, like, the wall collisions. But, yeah, I really, usually like using the master key, but for, purposes later, I wanted the old witch's ring. Cool, so we made it all the way to the first boss. And, or the second boss, I guess. The first boss doesn't really count as a training boss. So you start running down this bridge, right? And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, I hear these guys shooting at me from behind me. So then you turn around and you're like, oh, is there any way for me to get rid of them? Okay, yeah, there's a ladder right here. Perfect. Ouch. Cool. And then you're like, great. That's, yeah, those taken care of. I can go continue on my way. And you're like, oh, there's another fog wall. Great. I'll just go right through that. The other thing is this game can be really pretty when it wants to. Anyway, but yeah, and you're like, oh, there's a fog wall, and then all of a sudden there's this boss. So you turn around. You can try to fight him on the bridge, but if you're remembering your lesson from the original boss, ouch, then you're remembering how gravity is your friend, most of the time. There are some instances where it's not. For this boss specifically, you want to make sure you don't linger too long on that tower, or he will jump up to get you. So basically lead him back to the other end of the bridge. And then use my invincibility to armor past his hit. Or at the very least, duck under it. And lather, rinse, repeat. Oh, my timing's all off. If you time it right, he won't be able to hit you on the ladder. But you can see how it only takes a few rounds of this. Okay, he decided to trap me. That's cool. Taurus demon. It's really cool of you. Just a couple rounds of this. There we go. Now my timing's good. See, that's what it's supposed to look like when you do it right. I only need one more drop from the ceiling to probably get rid of him. Or I can stop and fight him on the bridge now. But I usually don't like to risk it just because it is such a pain to get back here when you die. Not really. I've done it, a bunch of times, but like, ouch. There's another cheese that you can do that the game did not intend. That you can actually fight him on the bridge on one of those broken areas, and there's a chance, I don't know if they patched it in the remastered or not, but there's a chance that he can get knocked off and fall to his death, which is really funny if you do it right. There we go. So I hope you see what I mean when I say that this game is, it's not easy, but when you have a knowledge of how it works, and you take the lessons that it teaches you to heart, it's very doable. I think I'm just going to go ahead and meet the next NPC, and then I'm going to end it there. For tonight, because it is pretty early in the morning for me. Yeah. This is the door I came through. But you see what I was talking about with how pretty this game can be.
Hello. You don't look hollow, far from it. I am Solaire of Astora, an adherent of the Lord of Sunlight. Now that I am undead, I have come to this great land, the birthplace of Lord Gwyn, to seek my very own son. You find that strange? Well, you should. No need to hide your reaction. I get that look all the time. Ah, so I didn't scare you. I have a proposition, if you have a moment. The way I see it, our fates appear to be intertwined. In a land brimming with hollows, could that really be mere chance? So what do you say? Why not help one another on this lonely journey? This pleases me greatly. Well then, take this. We are amidst strange beings in a strange land. The flow of time itself is convoluted, with heroes centuries old phasing in and out. The very fabric wavers, and relations shift and obscure. There's no telling how much longer your world and mine will remain in contact. But use this to summon one another as spirits, cross the gaps between the worlds, and engage in jolly cooperation. Of course, we are not the only ones engaged in this, but I am a warrior of the sun. Spot my summon signature easily by its brilliant aura. If you miss it, you must be blind.
So this is Solaire Vestora. He introduced himself already, but he is one of the few characters in this game that actually care about you and want you to do well. And that's why a lot of the people who play this game and know about this game just absolutely adore him. One of the reasons.
Oh, hello there. I will stay behind to gaze at the sun. The sun is a wondrous body, like a magnificent father. If only I could be so grossly incandescent.
But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end it there with my buddy. We're just gonna look up at the... Oh, that didn't look very good. I get into a better position. So yeah. Cool. I'll be back with the next one whenever I get to it.